past couple of years for the Philadelphia Eagles have been marked by change, and that's really what the offseason has been about. It's about getting younger players, getting new type of guys that fit the new type of systems that the new type of coaches want to try and do. So everything's been new. It's been a lot of change, but we're looking for those 10-year guys, right? Every time you draft a guy, something is that you want to hear is, he's going to have that 10-year career. He's going to be there for the next decade, and that's what you're always looking for. So today, I'm going to take on the tough task of thinking of 3 players on this Philadelphia Eagles that will be 10-year players. So let's talk about this decade.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today I want to talk about decades, man. I want to talk about 10 years. I want to talk about a guy that is going to be on this team from now till next 2032, I guess it is. I'm not great at math, but it's gonna be 10 years from now. I can guarantee you that. So who are we gonna be looking at, right? We got lucky with a guy like Jason Peters that came in right after having such a great left tackle and was there for 10 plus years. You get lucky with some of these guys, at Jason Kelsey, that's probably hitting 10, if not over 10. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but there's so many guys that come to your head that have been able to stay with the Philadelphia Eagles, or Fletcher Cox, the list goes on, right? And you always want to look for that, whether it's a draft pick, whether it's you're getting somebody young, at the defensive line, offensive line, and free agency, whatever it may be. You want to look at a guy that's going to be with you for the long term. So I want to go over 3 guys that I think will be with the Philadelphia Eagles for the long term. But before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 4K, so I would love for you guys to join that ride. Bring some chips and stuff. It's gonna be a good one. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get buckled up and we getting ready. So let's talk about it. So number three, I'm gonna go with an easy one. I think that I went with him at number 3 because I think it's the most obvious, but I think Jordan Mailata. I think that, barring any injury, knock on wood, he's still very, very young. I think he's like 24 going into this season. The guy is young. The guy is, already borderline elite. I'm not going to say he's the best in the league, but he's borderline elite. A lot of the stats are pointing towards him being elite. I'm going to say borderline for now. Obviously, he's still got some work he's got to do, but I think that this year is going to be a breakout year for him. Last year, he didn't allow a sack in a crazy amount of time. So it's all pointing up. If he can stay healthy, if he can stay out there, if he can stay on this team, not price himself out of Philadelphia, that's the only thing that kind of worries me. We can be looking at a guy that's going to be the staple of this franchise, and the Eagles' luck at the position kind of continues. Stoutland, that's really all I got to say, man. Stoutland is just a godsend. We are so lucky to have Stoutland on this team as a coach. So I'm going to have to go with Jordan Mailata at number 2. At number 3. He's that guy. It was such a steal in the 7th round, a guy that never played football, right? It's just like, how does that happen? How do people look over him? How do people, not see the talent that we saw in him? And it was quick. It was like 3 years and he was out there being a starter. So it looks really good. I'm excited about that. Now, number two, we're going to go on the offensive side. All right. I think that this is maybe not the guy that everybody's thinking about, but I would probably say Quez Watkins. I know everybody looks at a A.J. Brown, everybody looks at a Devontae Smith, but I think that Quez Watkins, and maybe it's not a decade, maybe I'm stretching the 10-year here, because wide receiver careers aren't really 10, 11 plus years, but I think he can stay with us maybe the longest, just because he has a rare and special ability, and I feel like when you give him the touches this year, he's going to break out. So he's a guy that I've been very big on, and I think that he's going to stay with the Philadelphia Eagles kind of in the role of like a Jason Avant. You look at a guy that wasn't necessarily the number 1 ever in his career, but he stood with the Eagles for a long period of time. He stood, kind of in favor of the offense because he could do so much. I do look at Quez Watkins, while the speed is obviously totally different from a Jason Avant. I think that Quez Watkins can do a lot of different things. Quez Watkins can be that guy that goes over the top. He can stretch your defense. He can, make the safeties respect the deep ball. But at the same time, he's a guy that can take the ball on screens. We've seen it before, and he can make something happen. There's so many things that Quez Watkins can do as a player that I think will keep him in the favor of the Philadelphia Eagles, even if it's not at a high-level contract or at a high level of production. I think that he's just a guy that fits what the Eagles are trying to do. So I like Quez Watkins. Maybe I'm stretching it there a little bit, but it is what it is. That's, it's my list. You make your own. But now number one, I was like tearing myself apart here. I'm gonna be honest, because I was thinking Nakobe Dean. But linebackers don't really stay that long with the Philadelphia Eagles. We go back to Michael Kendricks. We go back to Jordan Hicks. I don't think they made it to a second or third contract with Michael Kendricks. I think he got a second, but I don't think he got a third, and I don't think Jordan Hicks even made it to a second contract. So would they be one of those guys that? I don't think Nakobe Dean is going to be here for the long haul. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. So then you think Jordan Davis. Is Jordan Davis? I don't think so. I don't know. Is Jordan Davis the next Fletcher Cox? That's the question you have to ask. And then you look at a Jalen Hurts. And is Jalen Hurts going to be that franchise guy that's here for 10 years? You know what I'm saying? Maybe you look at one of these wide receivers, like I said prior, and you look at them and say, maybe they will. But the guy I'm going to go with, I think maybe it's a safe pick, and I'm not mad at that. I love safe picks. I think safe picks are a good pick sometimes. I'm going to go with Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson went out there and balled the heck out his rookie year. If he can, again, stay healthy, if he can stay on the field, and I think you can say that about every NFL player, every, prospect. Obviously, Landon Dickerson has some history as, injury history, I guess we'll say. I don't really like that injury-prone thing, but he's had some injuries in his career, so that's something to watch. But at the end of the day, he stood healthy all last year. Not only healthy, he stood elite all last year. I'll jump off that ledge, especially for a rookie. He was just nasty. And he wasn't even really supposed to, play, and then he was just nasty. I like him a lot. So I think he's a guy that he's going to be here for the long haul because he can still move to the center position. He can move to the other guard spot. I think there's so much that Landon Dickerson can do. He's another guy that's just going to fall into favor with this team. If they have to pick between somebody like, I don't want to name a name, but if they have to pick between somebody that is a good center, but that's all he does, they're going to pick Landon Dickerson and pay him more money because he can do more. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be able to go over there. So I think Landon Dickerson's going to only get better. I think that this offensive line, if they can keep it together, if you can keep Jordan Mailata out there, we'll see what, Cam Jurgens does. We'll see what happens with him. We'll see what happens with Landon Dickerson if we can keep him. And then you got to find a right tackle. I like Jack Driscoll. We'll see what happens. But that's a whole nother video. So that's my list. You know what I'm saying? I think that Landon Dickerson is probably leading the pack in my opinion. I love Jordan Mailata, don't get me wrong. But right now, I just have a fixation on seeing what happens with Landon Dickerson. If they try to move him to center, if Kelsey does go down, or it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting because I think Landon Dickerson's very good. So who would you have put on this 3? I only did 3. I could have done 5. I could have probably done 6. I could have done, maybe not 10, but I could have done enough, right? So you give me your 3. Let me know who you think I should have put on this, who you like that I did put on this. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.